Hey, Oasis family. I hope everyone is doing great on this wonderful Wellness Wednesday. So excited to be back with y'all. Oh, look, I done messed up my hair. That's because we about to get real and raw tonight. That's what about, don't even mind my hair. Just act like y'all don't even see it because we about to get real and raw tonight. I am super excited for tonight. I'm excited for tonight's talk. I'm excited for tonight's conversation. I'm excited who I have with me for tonight. Here's what I can tell y'all. Y'all not really ready. Like y'all not really like you think you're ready, but you're not really ready. I was just having a conversation with Miss Emily, telling her that when I thought about the topic that I want to discuss tonight, we're going to be talking about unraveling trauma by jumpstarting your journey and what that even means. There was no better person that I could think about in terms of that. But before I jump into any of that, I don't want to get ahead of myself. If you are watching tonight, I need you to do me a big favor. I need you to go and share the stream. Take about 10 seconds and share the stream while I figure out what the heck is going on with this hair of mine. Take about 10 seconds and go ahead and share the stream. We want to make sure that we get this out. This conversation is going to help somebody. Tonight's conversation, to me, when we talk about trauma, it's one of the most important conversations that we can have as far as talking about jumpstarting your journey. So do me a favor, go ahead and share the stream right now. Whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook from the Oasis Wellness Group page, or if you're watching on Facebook from my personal page, go ahead and share. The next thing I need you to do for me is that if you are watching, I need you to go ahead and comment and let me know that you are here. I can't see that you are here unless you comment. So I want to know who's watching with us tonight. I want to give the opportunity for everyone to ask questions. I want to make this an interactive conversation tonight. So let me know that you are here with me. And so if you were a part of it last week, if you got a chance to tune in last week, we set some really good groundwork and we set some really good foundation. Hi, Doris. Thank you for joining us. We set some really good foundation and groundwork last week, talking about just what it means to jumpstart your journey and the why behind it. And we gave some reasonings behind that. So if you didn't get a chance, I want to tell you to go ahead. You can catch it on Facebook at Oasis Wellness Group, or you can catch it on YouTube at Oasis Wellness Group. And I even uploaded the video on Instagram, so you can go ahead to Oasis Wellness Group page and watch it on IGTV that way as well. But tonight, I'm just so excited to have you all on. And so before I bring Emily on and before I introduce her, I just want to let you guys know that there are some exciting things coming up with Oasis Wellness Group. Again, I told y'all last week, I got something big coming. I'm going to give you a hint. I can't give it all away yet, but I'm going to give you a hint. What I have coming is going to help people with the very thing that we've been talking about in this series. Like, it's going to be so good. Like, everybody's not ready for counseling, right? Everybody's not ready for therapy, but that doesn't mean that you can't get the help. So I need y'all to stay tuned, because we're going to drop some stuff, and I'm going to stop talking about it because I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get ahead of myself, and I'm going to tell y'all before I'm supposed to tell y'all. So I'm going to study to be quiet right there. But make sure you're staying tuned to the Oasis page. The other thing that I showed you guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen with you really quickly. I had told you guys about my email list. Listen, I have a lot of things coming up, and I'm finding that I'm trying to diversify the way that I'm interacting with my audience. And so I want you guys to be a chance to be a part of what's going on with Oasis Wellness Group. So make sure you join the email list. Listen, my email audience get all of this information first. So they knew about this series. They know about things first. That is my promise to my email audience. So, but as I always say, it's not a one-way relationship, right? It's a two-way relationship. So I have for you, let me go ahead and share. Let's see if technology is on my side today. And let's see if it actually works for me today. Let's see. Oh, there we go. And so when you go ahead, what I want to do for you is part of being a part of my audience and joining my email list. I wrote and put together an e-booklet, 8 mental health quick tips while navigating these uncertain times. Listen, we have been living in some crazy times over the last 20 months. And what I'm finding is, even though we're slowly coming out of this pandemic, or whatever it is that you want to call it, people are are still struggling. So make sure I wrote this as just a couple of quick tips that if you activate them now, if you utilize these tips now, it's going to help you, right? It's a quick little booklet for you to go through. It's something for you to hold on to. So when you go to my landing page, and I'm going to give you that information in a minute, when you go there, you're going to go ahead, you're going to enter your information, and you're going to get an immediate download so that you can get the 8 mental health quick tips by navigating uncertain times. So what you're going to do is type in bit.ly/Oasis email. I'm going to put it in the comments for you really quickly. You're going to go to bit.ly/all caps Oasis email. So that way you can go ahead and that you can join the email list and you can be a part of what we have going on. All right. Enough of that. I am so excited tonight to be able to introduce my guest for the hour. I know that this is going to be great conversation. It's going to be real and raw. I'm not going to even try to introduce her. I'm getting comfortable. Y'all see, I got my little couch pillow, right? Because I had to make sure that I was comfy for this conversation. But I'm so excited to bring in and to bring on Miss Emily Rodriguez. Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them what you do. Tell them what you're about.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So first of all, my name is Emily Rodriguez, and I am a certified peer recovery specialist and a life coach. I am a woman in long-term recovery from opiate and cocaine addiction. It's been 12 years since I've been in recovery. I am a mommy of 2 little ones. Yes. Woo. It's all God. Yes. God is the foundation of my recovery. I work tirelessly to shatter the stigma behind addiction, recovery, mental health, homelessness, all that fun jazz. And so that's why I'm here tonight, because we're going to talk about some stuff.
Yes. Listen, y'all already heard. I'm not bringing you someone. Sometimes what happens when we have these conversations, we'll get caught up in the professionalism of it, right? The mental health, professionalism and the jargon and all of that. I'm not bringing that to you tonight. I'm bringing someone who has been in the trenches, which is why I intentionally asked her to be a part of it, because she's been in the trenches and she has her own journey. What I have learned and found, there is no greater teacher than someone who has their own journey. And Emily, you can speak to this. I worked for a lot of mental health agencies, and we had programs that dealt with addictions and substance abuse. It was a requirement that you yourself were in recovery to even work some of those programs. They wouldn't even allow you to work in those programs as a professional unless you had real experience with it. Because there's something about the addictions recovery that you got to know that you know that you know. You have to have been able to been through something to relate to it, to be able to help people through it. Emily, can you speak to that really quickly?
I always talk about that when I'm speaking to others, because they'll say to me, well, you're not a psychiatrist. Well, you're not a therapist. You're not, you're just a coach. And I said, well, let me tell you something. I went through 15 different secular programs with individuals who went to college to be a licensed therapist or an addiction counselor. And those young girls and young men would sit in front of me, and I would be a hot mess at 18 years old. And I would cuss them out, and I would say, go get me someone else. Because what you're not going to do is try to diagnose me and tell me how I feel from a textbook. I need to identify. I need you to help me to identify so that I know I'm not alone. And so tonight, my main goal is to make sure that our viewers can identify with things that I'm saying, that they can find themselves in my story, whether it's specific or not. My hope is that whoever is watching tonight, either they make the conscious decision to improve their mental health, or to take the steps to do so, and however that looks, because there's many different ways to do that, or share this with someone who you know is struggling, or maybe you're on here just about to learn some. How about that?
Listen, maybe just wherever you fit in,
get
it. And be tuned in. Don't be doing that stuff that y'all do when y'all tune in and tune out, and you click off and you come back. If you click off, you're going to miss something. hear me. If you click off, you're going to miss something. So make sure you stay tuned. Emily, I wanted to give you a quick shout out. Ambrielle says, I love your hair.
Hey, I just got done, girl.
Super cute. I'm loving the pink undertone. Super cute. So listen, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this conversation. So my first question I have for you what were some of your mental health struggles?
Okay, so I'm going to reiterate that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, what are my mental health struggles? Because what I know is that recovery from anything, right? Because I can speak to recovery. So recovery is an ongoing process, and the mental health portion of recovery is the same as if I were to say, okay, I just came off of drugs and now I'm moving into this new life. So my mental health struggles is something that is a continuous process. It's something that I struggle with sometimes daily, depending on the season of my life. Like, I know prior to, where I'm at right now, obviously, I would say that, my addiction disorder is not, living well inside me. I'm not in active addiction. So that's obviously past tense. But the roots of all of those behaviors and things I still deal with, and I'm still processing, and I'm still healing from. And there's a good chance with the level of trauma that I have experienced in my life that I may be on this journey the rest of my life. Depression.
Let me pause you right there. I think that is such an important point that we have to learn. Oftentimes, especially as a therapist, when I have clients, and my clients, but I'm guilty of it too. Oftentimes, when we look to do the work to heal, we want it to be gone.
One and done.
I have clients that sit on my couch and it's just like, all right, heal me. Like when I walk out of here in 3 months, I want the pain. Yeah, I remember you. I want the pain. Like I want the pain to be gone. And one thing I say to my clients all the time, depending on what you're dealing with, we are not operating from a standpoint that we're going to be able to make this thing disappear. The goal is to help you to manage it. Because there's some things that you will never fully get over, but everything you will be able to manage. And so the perception of if I jumpstart my journey, if I get my mental health journey together, that means I'm just going to heal altogether and it's going to be over and I'm never going to think about it again. There are some things that we deal with that have to be managed for the rest of your life. We have to learn how to manage. And as one who is in recovery and work with people who's in recovery, you know all about that. One thing you taught me and one thing that I learned is that there's this idea in a recovery community that you are always an addict and you're always working to overcome that. There is no such thing that I'm healed, I'm cured, and it's over. Every single day is a decision. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. But I just wanted to just backtrack very quickly because I wanted to just specifically touch on some things very quick. Things that I have been diagnosed and wrongfully in mental hospitals, while I was in my addiction. And of course, I'm sad. I'm a drug addict, and so they would give me these quizzes. And I think we're doing a lot better now in how we are addressing addiction and how we are addressing other mental health. And we are more and more providers are becoming more trauma informed, which is very important because a lot of our roots are that, and so depression, bipolar, they would have me so drugged up on bipolar medications, I would walk around like, they would say the Thorazine shuffle, like my arms would be straight and I wouldn't even like move my arms. And that was considered treatment, I am not bipolar and I'm not on any medication. I have dealt with anxiety. I have diagnosed PTSD. I am, I've been in many different abusive and assault situations and violence and things that, even car accidents, when we really think about that, like car accidents and different things, like trauma is different for everyone. What I can say is, I'm a woman of God and I have a very principled foundation of faith. And what I know, like even to speak to the church and to speak to the faith-based community, when we think about sanctification, right? We talk about sanctification, which is an ongoing process of, allowing God to do the work in you to be more like him. And that's the same thing for recovery. Recovery is a road and it's a journey, and there's no end.
Right.
You don't arrive. Why do I say that? Because when we take off the drugs and we take off the behaviors, the compulsive and impulsive behaviors, there's still all that junk that's inside of us that's now coming out, and it's consistently triggered by relationships with humans around us.
Listen, them humans will trigger something, okay?
Yes. And bring some stuff up that you ain't even know you had in you or you thought was healed. So you need coping skills, and you need to figure out, again, I love that you said manage, because that's where I'm at. I am managing my mental health today, and I'm still a peer recovery specialist, and I'm still helping people, but I'm managing my own stuff. And I love that I get this opportunity, because a lot of people put you on this pedestal as professionals. And because we show up a certain way, they begin to think that we're like these superheroes. And I'm pretty sure there is an S under here, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's under here. But I'm sorry, for real, like there's no cape, like I don't have superpowers, and I struggle like everybody else.
Right. Just human, And one of the things I'm going to say, the Holy Spirit, as you were talking, brought up for me is, I don't want anybody to miss it and think, because Emily is talking about her recovery from drug addiction, that this does not apply to you. Because the reality is, there's so many things that we're addicted to. There are so many things that we're addicted to that we don't ever stand up and do the work to overcome it. Some of us are addicted to relationships. Some of us are addicted to the approval of people. Some of us are addicted to food. Some of us are addicted to some secret habits. Some of us are addicted to spiritualizing. Come on, saints. Some of us are addicted to spiritualizing some things. And so just because it's not a diagnosable disorder does not mean that any of what she is talking about applies. Some of us need to start our recovery journey. If we want to keep it real and we want to keep it funky, some of us need to start our recovery journey. And so everything that she's talking about, it applies. It applies to all of us. And I could go down a gamut of all the things that we can be addicted to, but you. I want you to take a moment where you are right now, and I want you to think about your life. And I want you to reflect on, what am I addicted to, and how does this apply for me? What are the things in my life that I need to learn how to manage, that I need to make a decision for every day? Because what Emily is saying, I am making a decision every single day. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm making a decision every single moment. I am making a decision every single moment of my life. I'm making a decision about whether I'm a chase that approval from that person, whether I'm a chase the drink, whether I'm a chase the drug. I'm making a decision on whether I'm gonna pick up that food, and I know that I'm overeating. I'm gonna make we have to make decisions every single day and moment to moment. So for the person who's thinking, oh, this don't necessarily apply, I come to tell you right now, it applies. If you do some real reflection, you will see how this all applies to you. Amen, somebody. Amen. So jumping into our next question, what was your turning point? What was the turning point for you in deciding that it was time to jumpstart your mental wellness journey?
Yeah. So I love that you kind of did that little segue into this, because I want to get off of addiction right now. Because the truth of the matter is that I haven't been actively addicted for 12 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning to live life on life's terms, like the rest of y'all. Right. And I got this thing inside me that does this certain thing. I want to use this thing when I'm high stressed. But y'all all got your vices. You all have your stuff. You know what I mean? Or how about that man that you be going and seeing in the middle of the night? Or, there's some things. There's some stuff, for all of us that we need to shed. That's not good for our mental health or our relationships and our people. And there's all of that. So I want to fast forward really quick. And I want to talk about the first time I walked in your office.
Oh, my.
And where I was.
Yeah.
And where I was. I'm going to try real hard not to cry. But I'm a crier, so it's all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
And I'm just grateful that I can feel today, y'all, because let me tell you something. There was a time where I did everything and anything to numb my feelings out. And we're talking about drugs, alcohol, sex, men, social media. We're talking about all that. Oh, yes, I said social media. Yes, I did. I sure did. Because you know what? Every time you get that like and that dopamine, that happy juice go in your brain, you get addicted to them likes and them hearts. I know I'm stepping on somebody's toes right now. Don't click off. Stay on. Stay on. I got hope for you.
It's an addiction.
But that first day, I was in recovery. I long-term recovery, a mother of two at that time. I was, really killing it in ministry. I had a husband and who is now my ex, and he was in active addiction at the time, and I was living in a home with someone who was in active addiction, and it was extremely scary and dangerous. And he overdosed in my house. My children were home, and I had to revive him with Narcan. Mind you, I am, a multiple sexual assault survivor. I spent many years on the street and dealing at the hands of criminals and abusive, very scary people. And so you can only imagine the things that I witnessed, the things that I had been put through. I think that when we talk about trauma, we get confused about what we're really talking about. If I sit here and I tell you that I was raped, if I sit here and I tell you that I saw someone get shot in their face, you would say, oh my gosh, that's traumatizing. But if I also told you that a little girl saw her mother at 5 years old fall down the stairs and break her arm, you probably wouldn't say that was trauma. But it is. And it's different how we perceive situations, how we embody the situation, how that trauma gets stuck in our body and our muscles and all of that, And I remember coming to you, and I think I was about to have a nervous breakdown. I think I was at the point where I wasn't thinking about using, but my mental health was so poor, and I was so exhausted, and I was so abused, and I was so hopeless, even with God in my life, even being in ministry, even being a CEO of my own company, even being in recovery, and not picking up those drugs, those drugs, alcohol, not going to, a side dude to get what I needed because my husband wasn't providing what I needed emotionally. Not any of those things. I had my feet firmly planted, and I was faithful. And I was, life was so gray. I didn't think that I was going to make it. And I remember coming into your office and I didn't feel like I was alive. I had so much to live for, and I really felt like I was dying because I felt like I was losing everything that I had worked for. And we did crazy work.
Come on.
And it was only because I had decided that I was going to finally speak to someone. And here's something else. I have been in counseling since I was 7 years old. Been through a lot of counseling. Seen a lot of counselors. So now I'm coming before Chanel, and I'm thinking how none of those counselors ever worked for me. None of those programs ever worked for me. Talking to someone never worked for me. But let me just tell you guys something. Every counselor is different. Every therapist is different. And for some reason, this time I was ready. And you were in position to bring me through something that I was ready for. So when and there's nothing wrong with shopping around. I remember telling you how awful it was to sit in front of a counselor and for them to sit there and write the whole time while I was speaking. But you sat there and you were real with me, and you read me, and you read my body language, and you knew that you could be hard on me when I needed you to be hard on me. And you were attentive here. And that changed like everything for me. And it made me want to come back. And sometimes I couldn't stand you. And sometimes I hated what you were saying. But that is what we need. We need someone who's going to call out what we're not ready to hear. And whether I came back to you the next week or not, if I really wanted to begin the journey, and I wanted to begin to love myself, and I wanted to begin to heal, I was going to sit in front of you no matter how bad it felt.
Yeah. One of the things you said that I think is pivotal, like when we talk about people jumpstarting their journey, you said, this time I was ready. You said this time I was ready. And I think sometimes, it is never a bad idea. It's never a bad idea to seek counseling. It's never a bad idea to have someone on the other side of the table or whatever the case is to be able to read you in that way. I will say this. I had the opportunity to walk alongside of you. I'm going to say not, it wasn't as a therapist. I had the opportunity to walk alongside of you as someone, as a trusted individual in your life that you were willing to listen to and allow to call you out on your stuff. And so that makes a difference too. I want to identify that for people because sometimes it's not a therapist. Sometimes it's needing a trusted, sometimes it's a coach. Right. Sometimes, it's a pastor. Sometimes it's a minister or elder. And I think that was pivotal too, because I think if I was just another person, you may not have been able to receive it in the same way or whatever the case is, but I was able to walk alongside of you from a different purview in a different way. But going back to, you have to be ready. A lot of times people will seek out counseling, they'll seek out coaching or whatever, and will jump to say, oh, that just don't work. I don't even know why people do that. That don't work. I'll just go talk to my mama or whatever. But you have to evaluate whether you're in a place to actually receive. Counseling is not cute like they show on TV. TV kills me the way they show counseling. They show, lay across on the couch and I'm going to sit behind you. I have a little clipboard. I'm going to turn the lights low and I'm going to tell you how I feel. Now, granted, there are some people who still practice to that day. And there's a time and place for that. But if you really want counseling, and I said this last week in my live, at least on my couch, you're not going to sit on my couch and tell me that you want to see change, but you're not really ready to do the work. You have to be ready. I have terminated clients. That's the term we use. I don't want y'all to think I'm using negative, but that is the clinical term, right? I have discharged or terminated clients because they weren't ready. I could pull out my best stuff. I could read you like a book. The Holy Spirit himself can come down and sit on your lap. If you are not ready, that makes a difference. But what I hear Emily saying is that I was desperate. I got to this place of desperation that if something doesn't change now, I'm going to have a breakdown or worse. I don't know what's going to happen. And there's something about getting to a place of desperation that I want different. I want to see different. I'm tired of being in pain. And so I'm willing to give it a try. Some of you who are watching and some of you who are going to watch later have already been in that place. You've been in that place for a really long time, but because you're so stubborn or whatever it is that you're going through, you won't jumpstart your journey. Everything that you knew how to do, you've already done. Everything that you knew how to do to overcome that situation, to cope with it, to manage it, you've already done at this point. And so it may be time to completely throw out your plan and to try something different. Emily had the courage to decide, you know what, I'm going to at least do it one more. I'm going to try it one more time. And I'm going to give my all this time. Some of you have been in that place for so long. And so my question for you tonight is, how much longer are you going to sit down and suffer? How much longer are you going to suffer in silence when today could be the day that you get your freedom? So I just wanted to say that. Emily, go ahead. If you have
I want to add on to that. Because something just came to me. So this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? And I'm a domestic violence survivor. I've been out of my situation for a year as of October 14th, which is absolutely amazing. And what I can say is, prior to me even seeing you or even leaving that situation, I exhausted many different resources to think that they would help my situation. So what did I do? I treated things that were going on in my house, and now please listen to me. Tonight we are here for the individual. I'm not here for your boyfriend. I'm not here for your husband. I'm not here for your marriage. I'm not here for your kids. I'm not here for your parenting skills. I'm not here for your family. I'm here for you. And so what I'm telling you is what happened was there was so much madness and chaos going on in my house at all times. I decided to put my kids in counseling, and I decided to get a marriage coach for my marriage. And I decided to put my husband in an IOP program. And then here's Miss Recovery Coach sitting back thinking that she's Gucci.
Come on.
Guess what? I sent myself to counseling while everything else was a hot mess, and everything was still a hot mess. And when I left your couch, everything was still a mess.
Come on.
But it was the internal stuff, and that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. That's why I say take me off of that pedestal, because my life, even right now, is still crazy. It's bananas. I got 50 million reasons why I should go use drugs right now.
Come on.
I got 50 million reasons why I should leave my business alone and abandon my kids and just go somewhere and never come back.
Come on.
But I decided to put myself through something so that I could do the internal work and I could somehow find the coping skills and get the results that I wanted without having to change the other people around me, because you're never going to change them. All you can do is change yourself, and you make the conscious decision to start. Now, just because you start doesn't mean you're ready, right? So you have to make the conscious decision to find out if you're ready. And how do you find out if you're ready? Go to the session. And don't just go to one session, because the one session is just to get your information. So don't play me or Chanel and think that you just going to go to one session and you're going to get something. When you see me, I mandate that you pay for 4 sessions. Why? Because what you're not going to do is run around these streets talking about, I saw her one time and I ain't getting nothing out of it. Well, of course you didn't. Even after 4 sessions, I still don't know you.
Come on.
I'm just trying to figure out your nonsense. And I can say that because I got my own nonsense that, that presents itself. And so that's who we're talking to today. We're talking to those who are just like us, who live these lives like humans would do. And there's chaos and there's dysfunction and there's heartbreak and there's disappointment and there's all these different things and there's loss and there's grief. I'm still grieving.
Come on. That.
I am still grieving my family.
Yeah. Come on.
I'm still grieving my ex.
Yeah.
I'm still grieving my children's home.
Come on.
That they had.
Come on.
Still grieving. And that's the process. And so all of that is mental health. Yeah. And I also want to touch on, when we talk about mental health, I think we're saying mental illness. I think people are confused. Mental health is not mental illness. It's your health of your mental state. And so we all have mental health, and you'll be I'm gonna call you a liar, whoever you are, saying that this doesn't pertain to you. We all have mental health struggles. Yeah. Whether you're verbal about it or not, whether you want to believe the people around you that are telling you that they see some stuff going on in your life and you probably do need some help, or whether you're like me and like recently, my life has been very high stress, and I'm struggling with anxiety, panic attacks. I had 2 car accidents in 5 months where I was hit at very high speeds. Once my kids were in it, and the other one I was at a stoplight. I didn't even know it was even coming. Guess what, guys? It's trauma. And I'm so strong, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, you're like the strongest person that I know. Well, this stuff happens to our bodies. And even though I'm over the car accidents and I'm driving every day and I'm fine, there's something else happening to me. Yeah. And so what did I do? I learned breathing exercises. I learned the wet noodle. I learned, there's different things that while they're happening, while I'm sweating to death and shaking for no reason, you learn these things. And I would hate to continue the rest of my life not knowing how to manage these things.
Right. That, like, can you imagine, like, I even think about myself, and, I share my journey with people. Like, me being a therapist means absolutely nothing, because I'm a human first. I experience grief. I experience pain. I've experienced my share of trauma and all of that. And so I find myself in this place after going through, a terrible miscarriage that led to me ending up in ICU, and the doctors didn't know if I was going to make it through the night, to a cancer scare, to I had to relearn how to walk at 28 years old because I lost my ability to walk, and all of these things. At the time, I was a minister. At the time, I was a therapist. And so for some, this wasn't the case, but for some people around me, I don't think that they could perceive that I was human, because it was like, why are you acting like this? Because I was losing my mind. Like, can I say that? I was losing my mind, and people couldn't understand. Well, all the tools, you teach people this stuff every day. Right. All of that goes out the window when you are the person in the hot seat, when your body is the offender. That's how I like to say it. My body was the offender, and I can help other people, but I could not for the life of me help myself. And the therapist had to be told by her pastor that it's time for you to go get some counseling. The therapist had to be told by her pastor that I'm sending you for counseling, and it's so humbling. And so even when you talk about, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what the situation is, Emily alluded to earlier, or whatever the case is, whoever you are, we've all experienced a measure of trauma, because trauma is relative to you. And it doesn't matter if it's the broken arm, doesn't matter if it's the car accident, it doesn't matter if it is the abuse. And so what we will try to do is convince ourselves, oh, my situation is not that bad. I have so many people to come to me like, yeah, I mean, I kind of dealt with that, but like they dealt with that. And try to remove yourself, but you're affected by it. You were triggered by it. Every time you drive down the street, I've had my share of car accidents too. And there was a certain route where that accident was, that no matter, I don't care if I wasn't even thinking about it. When I came up on that intersection, something just took over, because as Emily said, trauma lives in the body. And we have to get real with ourselves and know that when it is time to do something, like I said earlier, you have already done everything you know how to do. You've done it all. You've tried to call a friend. You've tried everything you know to do, everything you have within your power. And here's what I'm gonna tell you, because anybody can go on Google these days. I'm about to get on my high horse for a second. Anybody can go on Google these days and find a therapeutic worksheet. Anybody can go on Google these days and look up, breathing exercises and meditation and coping and all of that stuff. And those skills are great. And some people come to me like, yeah, I need some coping and I need some breathing. But guess what? If you just breathing, if you just writing stuff in that journal, but you're not sitting down processing, you're not having somebody challenge your thoughts, if you're not having somebody challenge your mindset, you are doing yourself in circles. Those breathing exercises are not going to work for you. You taking those walks are not going to work for you. Leading into your support system is not going to work for you, because while I am managing, I'm also dealing with the underlying issues and factors and things that are going on. So I want to dispel that right now, because I have so many people like, yeah, I do the breathing exercises and all of that. That's great. Do it. That's absolutely fine. But if you're not dealing with the real work, if you're not dealing with what's really going on, you just breathing, but you're not dealing with the fact that you was cheated on. But you want to sit here and do some breathing exercises, and that man that cheated on you is still living in your household and sitting right next to you. Breathe. Come on, y'all. Like you want to breathe, huh? You want to do some breathing exercises. It's not going to work for you. And so what Emily did is, I didn't just take the coping skills, but what I did is I did the work that go alongside of the coping skills. So eventually I can do the work to resolve or get to a place where the work is more manageable, but I still have the coping skills to manage through on my day to day. There is a difference. So I really, really wanted y'all to hear that. I wanted y'all to hear that before I jump into the next question. This is good. This is a conference or something.
Good.
So what were some of your fears and apprehensions you had about jumpstarting your journey and getting your mental wellness and mental health journey started?
This question, when I thought about it, I got a little emotional. And I'm pretty sure that someone else could identify with why it took me so long.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that if I felt that pain that is so deeply, and I say is so deeply rooted inside of me, and I began to cry, that I would never stop. I thought if I opened that Pandora box, that I would never be okay again. And I want to tell you, with tears balling up behind my eyes, that's a lie. And the anxiety part of it and the fear, which is a liar, there is healthy fear. There's fear that we were created with when we are in danger. And then there's fear that comes with trauma. and there's
Yeah.
paranoia,
Come
and
on.
there's hypervigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And I have spent years in that. And I work it out. I work it out. I work it out. I work through it. I work through it, you know? Fear is a liar when it comes to that statement that I just told you. And that narrative of, if I tell someone, I don't know if I'll ever be able to here we go. Everybody watch. Everybody hear what I'm about to say to you. If I'm going to be able to maintain this representative that I'm presenting. I am not the same person that sat on that couch.
Come on.
That day.
Come on. Come on.
All I can say is I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
In my mind, I see all kinds of things that help me explain and help me be self-aware. And I know you as a professional as well have used the onion, right? And so there's layers, right? And we all know that. And we all say that. We say it very like, it just rolls off the tongue. Oh, there's layers in this onion and blah, blah. You know, we're still taking layers off.
Come on.
And what I feel though, and this is what I can hope and pray for all of you that are watching this. When you take a layer off, it goes in a pile, right? So we take a layer off and we go in a pile. We take a layer off and go in a pile. And as we're putting them on the pile, my feet are stepping on top of those layers.
Yep.
And I'm coming up out of that darkness. I'm coming up out of that depression. And that doesn't mean that there are not days that I don't want to get out of my bed soon. I mean, out of my bed in the morning. I would be lying to you if I said that. There are still those days, right? But they're few. They're more few than they were, right? And they're not as frequent. And the self-awareness of why. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so freaking annoying. I'm like a 3-year-old. I'm going to ask why, which is a part of my trauma response.
Right.
If you know, a lot of people that have been in have had a lot of trauma. They need to know everything and they need to know all the details. And that's me. And why is that? It's because I'm always waiting for the ball to drop.
Yep.
When something's too good, when something is just rubbing me the right way, I'm like, something's wrong with this. Something's wrong with this. Somebody about to get me. Somebody about to do something to me. I'm about to be disappointed. My heart's going to get broken. I start going crazy, you know?
It's real. It's real.
That doesn't have to be your reality anymore. It just doesn't have to be. And so I think my biggest fear was allowing the floodgates to flow.
Yeah.
But when you talked about processing, how can you process if you don't open your mouth?
Come on.
How can you process if you don't confide in another person? You know, there were times, and even now, I have a domestic violence counselor who deals with my the abuse and also deals with the trauma. And not just that trauma, but a whole bunch of other trauma, right? And there are sessions where I go in to sit with her and she don't say a thing. And I am running my freaking session. And I walk out of there and I feel like I just took a whole college course. And I did it. I'm talking so much that I'm unraveling stuff I didn't even know was there, number one. Number two, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I walk out 100 pounds lighter and she goes, what? She was just there as my sounding board.
Come on. I tell people all the time, clients I work with, my favorite term, when you come and sit on my couch, everything that you need to heal is actually already on the inside of you. If you are going to a therapist, if you are going to a coach, if you're going to a pastor, if you are going to anybody to try and get healing, my job is not to heal you. My job is to help you to bring healing out from the inside of you.
Come on.
You ultimately know what's best for your life. You ultimately know what you need. You ultimately know what you want. You ultimately know what your dreams and your goals are and what it is that you are chasing. And I tell people all the time, if you are sitting here expecting me to heal you, then you already got it wrong and we already have an issue. I don't have healing. Healing is not, the healing is God's to give. I don't have healing. I am simply a facilitator to help you to bring it up on the inside of you, on the outside of you. And so oftentimes we'll do work with clients and they'll say, oh, thank you so much. You really helped me. I'm like, girl, I ain't do nothing. I ain't help. You came to that realization on your own. You came to those insights on your own. And so I want to tell somebody, this is the reason why you need to jumpstart your journey, because the answers that you're seeking and you're so confused about, it's already there. You already have the answers. They're lying dormant, or as Emily said, they're under so many layers. And so as we're able to pull back layers, as we're able to open up those layers, what we're doing, as she said, now I stand on top of the layers. And so what's happening is I'm getting closer to my answers. Yeah. There are times, like she said, there are times clients will walk out of session. I'm be honest. I'm be honest, because I'm real. There been times like I don't even know what I did today. I don't even know if I said it failed. Like, I don't know if I gave you an activity, but guess what? It's okay. Just having somebody there that can hold the space for you. You need somebody that can hold space for you to make, because what Emily is verbalizing is that she was in spaces that helped her to feel safe. I felt safe enough. And as another therapist colleague has said to me, breathe. I feel safe enough and I feel brave enough in this space to be able to do the processing, to be able to talk about it. I don't know if Emily remembers this, but it's something so profound for me and I'll never forget it. When I was walking alongside of you and helping you with some things, one of the things I had you doing was writing. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember.
I had you writing and I had her like we would be sitting down together. And I would just shut up and I would have her like writing and I would have her go through it. And one day she said to me, she was like, can I stop? Because this really hurts. And you have me doing this and it really hurts. And I would not let her stop. Why? Because there were layers and things on the inside of her that she was holding on, that it was time to get it out. It was time to purge it. And as she was getting it out and as she was purging it, that part of her that was trying to convince herself that this wasn't my reality, that this wasn't my story, this thing is becoming real. I'm not looking at anybody else's life now. I'm looking at my life and it was becoming real and it was coming to the forefront. But it is the very thing. When we start to purge, when we start to process, when we start to allow that thing to come to the forefront, and when we can talk about it, that thing no longer has power over you. You give power to the thing that you're dealing with. You give power to the hurt and the pain when you continue to hide it. Because when you hide it in secret, it is tormenting you. But what's done in the dark, when it is brought to light, it can no longer have power over you. It's like, I think about that school bully, right? It's that bully that don't say nothing. Don't say, you better not say nothing. You better not say nothing or whatever. And now you're living in secret torment. But the moment you decide that you're going to open, I'm saying something. And if you whip my behind, I don't care. What happens is the reason why that bully don't want you to say something is because they have the most power in the dark. But when the light is brought to the situation, now you got eyes on the situation. Now you got people challenging. Now you got people watching. It is so with our feelings, our emotions, and with our traumas. You have to get it up on the outside of you. We often tell ourselves, I don't even want to talk about it. I remember when I was going through what I was going through, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want anybody to ask me any questions about it or whatever the case is. Because as long as nobody provoked it, like I was able to keep it here. Like if I don't talk about it, I'm not going to cry. If I don't talk about it, I'm not going to be exposed. If I don't talk about it, the moment somebody made me talk about it, I was a puddle of mess because it needed to come out. You have to tell your story. Can you speak to that a little bit, like that process of having to write it and get the story out?
Yeah. When you decide to finally surrender to the process of improving your mental health, there are things that come up that you may have been in denial over for years and years. And when you're faced with it, when you're forced to look at it, when you're forced to hear yourself say it, I mean, I know there was a few things I said to you that I was like, I've never told anyone that in my life. Man, is that empowering? This this woman that you're looking at right now is only this way because I have had so much pain in my life, but I have faced it. I have faced it head on. And if I hadn't faced it, it probably would have destroyed me. I'm not even probably. It would have. And I remember sitting with you and I remember crying and saying, it's just too much. It's too much. I'm processing this and I'm working with you on this. And then this just happened and I'm working on that. And this just happened. How am I going to process my childhood when I'm going through trauma right now in my home? How am I going to go back there when I'm constantly faced with new situations, you know, that I have to begin to process? And I think it was becoming overwhelming, you know, in that moment for me to be like, well, can I stop? And no, you can't stop, because that's the thing. Most of us that begin something, specifically those that are affected by trauma, we don't really know how to complete, like, without help, without someone supporting. Okay. And I needed you to be like my midwife. I needed you to give me the breathing, and I'm trying to get you guys to visualize this, to hold my hand. I was in so much pain, you know, but it was like I was birthing. I was birthing this person that I'm still working on, but I wasn't this person then. And so to birth something, like, I know men, y'all really don't know, but y'all seen it, right? And I don't know either, because I had 2 C-sections. But I was in labor for a little bit the second time, and I was like, oh, heck no. But what does that say? Like, we run from pain. And yo, I'm gonna talk to all my runners, because I'm a track star. Because I'm a straight up track star, and we ain't talking about high school track, okay? I'm a life track star. When something gets uncomfortable, when I have to face something that brings up all this pain, when I have to feel like in my bag, and when I'm crying, and when, you know, people are feeling like, oh, well, she's overreacting, or like, just like all that stuff. When I have to face life, and I know other people are going to be involved in it, I take off.
Come on.
I did. Like you said, I don't want to talk about nothing. Don't look for me. Don't call me. Nothing. And that's running. You're running. Mm-hmm. You're running. And so there were a few times that I remember and I'm saying these things because I'm hoping that those of you are going to remember that I said these things to you, because I'm really hoping and praying and believing that after this live tonight, that some of you tomorrow morning are going to make the decision to go and make the phone call. Come on. Specifically to Oasis Wellness, because she's really the only one that I can vouch for. But it doesn't have to be her, right? But I would hope that it would be her, because I'm proof. You know, my company is called Living Proof Coaching Services, but I am living proof not only that recovery is really happening, but that Oasis Wellness and the professionals that work there really, really care, and they take time with you, and they don't just sit and write on that pad, and they don't give you suggestions that are not specific for you and your journey. They're not just reading out of a textbook, and they're not generally diagnosing, like, you know, I mean, Chanel is not a psychiatrist, so she can't diagnose you, but she can identify if you're dealing with depression, or if you're dealing with certain types of feelings, or what is bringing certain things up. Like, she has the ability to do that. Right.
And so actually I do diagnose as a therapist. Okay. I cannot do medication. I can't prescribe medication. Okay. But part of what we do, and part of it, my rant is insurance. You can't bill insurance unless there's a diagnosis, which is terrible. But that's a whole other story for another day. But yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you corrected me, because I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I just think that, you know, a lot of us run from that which is uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. A lot, and you know, I especially people who And this is just, for instance, these are people that, like, I deal with, and some of my clients who I really need to go see a counselor. I need them to go see a counselor. If there's been child molestation, and you're an adult, and I'm looking at you, and I know for a fact that that's the reason for your behavior as an adult. But I can't tell you that because I'm not a therapist. I need you to go to a counselor. Oh, well, I don't want to talk about that. I'm over that. And that happened so long ago. You know how many times I hear this? And I'm like, baby, if I could put a mirror in front of you, I'm telling you, that's what you're unhealed in that place.
Come on.
Someone validated that,
Yeah. And one of the things you said earlier is like, all right, I'm dealing with this presently, but you want me to talk about what's going on in my childhood. What we have to understand is that it's all connected. It is all connected. And it's hard to heal from present things unless we go back and heal that little girl. Because truth of the matter is, something led that little girl eventually, if we're talking about your situation, into addiction. Something, there was a background to that. There was an upbringing to that. There was pain over an amount of time that led me to that place. And so for a lot of us, we like, yeah, I don't talk to my mama and them no more. So I don't even want to deal with that, whatever. I'm dealing with, me and my husband can't get along. But when I put a mirror to you, you and your husband can't get along because your mom abandoned you and your dad didn't protect you. And so now every person that tries to get close to you and tries to have a close relationship with you, now you feel abandoned. My daddy didn't protect me, so that means my husband won't protect me. So I got to protect myself, and I can't trust anyone. Listen, I can run the gamut. It is all connected. That is why it is important to be able to sit back and do a look back. There's certain things that clients will say to me, and I could say, okay, daddy issues, mommy issues, or whatever the case is. Like, you don't even have to tell me, and I'll find a way. We're gonna creep down that path, and we're gonna eventually get there because it is all connected. So yes, sometimes it hurts to have to dig up the past, but sometimes to heal from the present, you got to heal from the past. And like I like to tell a lot of people when we see memes about it or whatever, but that little boy, that little girl needs to be healed so the grown man can show up. So the grown woman can show up, because a lot of what we deal presently, a lot of what we're dealing with presently is because that little girl is still hurt, because that little boy is still hurt. And so what's really happening is the little boy is trying to cope. The little girl is trying to cope, or whatever the case is. And here's the thing, as Emily said, sometimes not even abandonment, sometimes not even this major trauma. Maybe it was when you was in 3rd grade, you was sitting down at the lunch table and somebody said, oh, you got green stuff in between your teeth, and everybody laughed at you, and now you're hurt, and now you're upset, and now you're in pain, right? It's all connected. I think, I lost Emily. Hopefully she'll be able to reconnect really quickly, but it is all connected. One thing, we can't deal with one thing and ignore something, ignore our past and ignore our traumas and our pains from the past because it hurts, right? And so we have to dig in, and we have to do the work, and you have to be open to the digging in. You have to be open to the doing the work so that you can go on a path of getting healing. I forget what they call it, that inner child, right? The inner child, that inner child work has to be done. That past has to be done. Even that past relationship. Sometimes we'll get into new relationships. Okay, that's fine. Jump back in. Sometimes we'll get into new relationships, but we haven't dealt with the past one. And so what's happening is we make the present suffer with what happens in the past. We'll make that present man, we'll make that present woman pay for the sins of the past one. Like, just because the relationship ended did not mean that you were over it, did not mean that you went through the healing process that you needed to go through in order to heal. And so ideally, I tell people, especially when it comes to relationship issues, and I don't know why I'm jumping on relationship issues, I'm just going to assume somebody needs to hear this, but what I've learned, especially when we're dealing with relationship issues, oftentimes what happens is, I tell people all the time, you need to give yourself some time of by yourselfness before you even think about jumping into another. I tell my clients all that, not approve. You guys not approve at all you jumping into another relationship. And they be like, well, how long is it going to take? I tell them ideally a year. And they look at me like I got several heads. Ideally a year, because you need to heal completely from whatever happened in that past relationship so that your next one doesn't reflect the last one. because the next one will always reflect the last one if you don't heal. And then, okay, we're talking about romantic relationships. I could be talking about relationships with your children. Your relationships with your children will reflect that relationship that you had with your mom, whatever that was. We can just go down the line. There's always a level of healing from the past that you must do. You have to dig in and do that level of work so that you can heal from what's going on in the present. And if you try to heal from the present and you don't touch the past, what's going to happen is, see, trauma is disrespectful. Ooh. Trauma is disrespectful. And so you're going to think that you're good. And it's going to be years down the line and something's going to happen to trigger you. You're going to be in the supermarket and then you're going to see somebody with a shirt on and it's going to remind you of old boys. It's going to remind you of old girls. It's going to remind you of your mom. It's going to remind you of dad. It's going to trigger something, a flashback from that accident or whatever. And now you're in the middle of ShopRite breaking down and crying in tears and you can't gather yourself because you didn't do the work to heal from the past. So please understand, ignoring it won't keep it at bay. Eventually it's going to come out and it will come out at the most disrespectful time if you don't do the work to heal from the past. So that's my little spiel. I'm going to skip the next question because we kind of already talked about it. But what I want you to do now is I want you to give advice. Like, what advice would you give to those who are undecided and they're on the fence about jumpstarting their own wellness journey? Like, what would you say to that person?
I would say that, everything we're talking about right now probably sounds like really big and it sounds like a lot and it sounds like you probably don't want to do it because I'm pretty sure if I was hearing this, I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. That's painful. I felt enough pain in my life. Why do I want to revisit that? And all of that. We're smushed into an hour, we're about to end soon. So we have to make this be grand and we have to fit it all in there. But I promise you, it's really easy. You just have to pick up the phone and make an appointment and then go and say what your name is and tell the individual why you feel like you're there. And here's the funny part. Most of the time, why you think you're there isn't really the reason why you're there. There's some other stuff beyond that, deep that professional, Chanel or one of her, employees is going to pick up on, and that's their job. So if you think that jumpstarting your mental health, it falls on your shoulders, it doesn't, if you do it the right way. So your responsibility is to one, make the conscious decision, that you're tired of having the panic attacks, that you're tired of, like me, every time I walk into an elevator, oh my God, I'm like, whoever's about to walk on here is going to attack me. That's crazy. Or when I walk to the dumpster at night, in the middle of the night, I'm thinking, oh, there's somebody probably inside of it waiting for me or behind it, Eventually we have to get to a place where we get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's such a cliche, and I usually don't like to use it, but it's really true. And when I first see a client and when I first see people and I ask them, why do you want to be here? Why do you feel like you need this? They usually discuss symptoms. So they'll discuss like their feelings. And that is your only job that like we're giving you is to just communicate what you feel.
Come on.
You're not there to figure it all out. You're not there because you've probably been trying to figure out why your whole life. And so it's time for you to allow another person who is vetted, who is educated, who has been through it themselves, who is living proof, right? To go and enter into your journey with you and to not tell you how to do it, but to make the suggestions so that you can weigh it out yourself and you can figure out what's best for you. But until we get to the place of just like, you know what, I'll take any suggestion. I may not implement it, but if you just get in that pliable place, in that place of surrender where you're like, all I know is that I don't want to feel like this anymore. Whatever that is. All I know is that I don't want to keep sleeping around and feeling empty every time I wake up to another person and I have no relationship with that person, right? All I know is that I can't control my anger and I flip out and I'm violent, and that's all I know. So just go in with the facts of what you're living and allow a professional to lead you and guide you in the road that we're talking about, the journey that we're talking about, and show up for your sessions. They're usually once a week, guys. Once a week. And they're usually like 30 minutes to an hour, wherever you go, you know, wherever you're going to go. We complicate things. I overthink everything. That's another trauma response. I overthink everything. I'm analytical. I tear everything apart. Focus on just being present, and picking up the phone. And, you know, there's, I think Chanel just put, you know, a national helpline. She put a whole bunch of phone numbers in there. You can also, you know, contact Oasis Wellness Group. All her information is on there. Just don't wait. Just don't wait. I can't help but think, I'm 34 years old, and I can't help but think, if I wasn't so paralyzed by the stigma of going to counseling or talking about all of my dirty, my dirty stuff. I ain't no saint, right?
Come on.
If I had done this earlier, I probably would be a little further along in my life. But you know what? I'm really grateful for where I'm at right now. And I'm grateful that I started. And one of my mantras is push in progress, not perfection. And so if you're watching this and you have spent years or weeks or months or even a few days and you just don't feel good and you are feeling like you're suffering and you're crying, I mean, there's a lot of different symptoms that come up. And I just want to encourage you that it just takes one step. It really does. It just takes one step. And you don't have to even know in what direction it's going to go in. And you ultimately control your journey. You do it. You control it. Chanel is not the type of therapist to shame you. I've been in rooms with therapy that have completely turned me off to therapy. And if you are someone on this live right now and you have seen some lunatic counselors out there, because there are some really freaking nut jobs that have this license that have said some crazy things to you, I want you to know that I let you know right now, this woman right here is not one of those people. I have been in some very unethical counselors, and I have been in front of some people that have really turned me off to what I thought was going to be my healing. But this right here, this is real. These are real people. We are real people. Chanel's a real person, and she's going to give you your heart, and she really wants to see you healed. She wants to see you live your best life. So that's my advice to you if you're thinking about jump starting.
Yeah. And it's so good. It's
especially
so good.
Especially men, my men, you know,
Come on.
especially y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited because I want to say in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'm having someone that I actually went to college with, and he's an LPC too. He was watching earlier a show. We're digging into the men. We're having a conversation. We're gonna spend a whole night on the men and them jumpstarting their journey.
The last one you did, I was calling people. Like, go on Facebook right now. Like, when I tell you, I don't think I had really seen anything like that. And not just that, but when we talk about like the minorities, and when we talk about you know, Black males and Spanish males in urban communities, mental health help does not happen there. You know, it doesn't happen there. It's taboo. We keep things silent. We hush.
Mental health has boundaries. Like, it just stops.
We'll get through it. You know, we don't go and tell our business to nobody, right? And so you're not weak if you want counseling. It's totally confidential. If you don't tell anybody, no one's going to know that you're there. If you feel like you don't have an excuse, just say that you're going. I don't care. I mean, don't lie. But I mean, if you feel like you need to, There's anything else you could say? You're going to get a massage once a week. I don't know. Come up with something. But if you are so bound by the fear of people knowing that you're in counseling, I promise you could probably figure out something else to say.
You don't owe anybody an explanation. I do want to get to one question. We had a question that came through on YouTube, so I want to make sure that answer it. The question is it normal to be really ill from an abusive relationship? Yes, it is completely normal. As we discussed earlier, trauma lives in the body. There is a mental bodily connection that happens, right? And I'm not going to give you a whole neuroscience lesson, not going to give you a whole biology lesson, but what happens in our emotional, what happens in our mental, when we are in distress, your body releases certain distress chemicals. After a certain amount of time, so many of us are living in a state of distress that our body is constantly firing these chemicals. The problem with our body doing that is that we were never meant to live under the pressures of that. That's where you have stress. That's where you have people have ulcers. I've heard that if you do research, cancers are caused by mental illness or whatever. There is absolutely a mind-body connection. So if you've been in an abusive relationship, if you've been in that car accident, if you had a fight with your husband, whatever it is, it will absolutely, it can make you sick. It can make you ill. And as a matter of fact, there's something called somatic disorders that I bring up sometimes. And somatic disorders, what they are their physical illnesses that you deal with that have no physical root. So you may go to the doctor and you're having stomach pains or you're having migraines or you're having other issues, and the doctor is going to kindly give you a referral to see a psychologist or to see a therapist or see a psychiatrist, because they know enough to know that this is somatic. While you are physically experiencing it, right? You're having those physical experiences of it, but it is an emotional root that you need to get to and that you need to do your work. And so if you are a person and you feel like that you're in a position and that you feel like you're ill, and it's because of a root of a past issue, of a past relationship, of a past trauma that you're dealing with, this would be a great time for you to jumpstart your journey and go talk to someone. Because oftentimes I have even found, as I work with clients and as we sit down and we do work or whatever, if they are having certain, and I'm not saying all physical things, as they begin to heal emotionally, they're no longer complaining about the migraines. They're no longer complaining about whatever issue it is that they're having, because they're releasing that. And so what's happening is your body is starting to calm down. You give your body the permission, you give your body the ability to calm down. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes. You can deal with certain physiological, you can deal with emotional issues, and it won't cause you to get ill. And so now would be a good time to jumpstart your journey. I do want to point out, I did put some helplines. I was led, as Emily was talking, I was led to put some national helplines in the chat, because I have been doing this work long enough. 10 years. I can't believe I can say that I've been a therapist for 10 years. That's crazy to me. I've been a therapist for 10 years, but I've been a real therapist for 3. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. Listen, we'll get into that later. I've been a therapist for 10 years, but I say to myself, I've been a real therapist. I'm gonna give myself, for 4 years, I've been a real therapist. I had a BC and I have an AD. Okay, y'all are seeing the AD now. BC, I would not recommend you come sit on my couch. But anyway. I felt led to drop those in because I've been doing this long enough to know we can have these conversations. We can encourage you to do it, and some of you still won't do it. That does not mean that I don't want you to get help. These national helplines, we got the national helpline, we got the NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness helpline. I put the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I also put the domestic violence helpline in the chat, because even if you're not ready, we talked about that. Even if you're not ready to take the steps, I still want you to get the support that you need, right? And let's make this clear, because I want to make this clear, and I appreciate Emily for plugging Oasis and all of that. This is not for me to get clients. This is not for you to call me. This is not for you to come to my couch. This is for you to get the help that you need. There are a million good therapists out there. There's some, not so, but there are some really good therapists out there, and fit makes a difference. So this is not a matter of you coming to me. This is a matter of you getting the help that you need. Now, I will say, therapy in the true sense doesn't necessarily, everybody's not ready for that. And so, like I said, with Emily, our relationship looked a little bit more different. It was coaching. I was helping to coach her to get to a place of where she is now. I have something coming for people who are not ready to take that therapeutic step, but they know that they need some therapeutic tools and that they need to jumpstart their journey. So I want y'all to stay tuned because I'm still working on it. I want to make sure it's perfect when I unravel it, but I guarantee and I promise, I can't guarantee and promise everything, that when I release this, you want to jump on the opportunity. You want to jump on the opportunity because what I can do, if I wasn't a therapist, I love to pour into people and build people up. So the opportunity that I'm going to offer is to pour into you everything that I possibly can to help you to get jump started on your journey. The bonus is that I am a therapist, right? So you're going to get those tools as well. So make sure that you're listening. But I want to thank, Emily so much. I just want to thank you so much for being transparent about your journey. I want to thank you so much for being open because, like I said earlier when we started this live, there is no better teacher than somebody who has gone through it and is willing to be real, be honest about it, and be raw. Not this fluff stuff, not trying to come up in here and acting like I'm all pristine and I've never been through anything, but to be real, to be honest and raw. So I thank you. I thank you for your honesty. I'm grateful for the people who will encounter you in the work that you do. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to God for it, for the people that are going to encounter that, because it's like, you know how I'm excited to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm sending that one to Emily because I already know the work is going to get done. You're one of those people for me. Like you're one of those people for me. Absolutely. And so thank you so much for joining us. People are saying thank you for being transparent. This conversation was dope. You are the best. And I concur with all of it.
I want to say something else that came up right at the end when you were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a moment towards the end, and this is just one little story in my life. There's so many different things, right? And I remember even after seeing you, because I had seen you in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped seeing you. And then I left my home in 2020, right? Okay, right? Yes. Okay, so it's been a year. So October 14th, 2020. 3 months before I left, I called the domestic violence hotline. And I spoke to and let's talk and very quickly. Domestic violence is not just physical abuse. It's verbal abuse. It's manipulation. It's mental abuse. It's hurting your feelings. It's putting you down. It's controlling you. It's keeping you in the house. It's abusing you with finances and withholding money from you. It's sexual abuse. It's having sex with you, even if that's your husband and you say no. Your no is valid. Your feelings are valid. All of that. That's all domestic violence, right? Mm-hmm. And I called because I said, if he gets high again, I have to leave. And I called the domestic violence hotline. They gave me to my local domestic violence organization. And I did counseling once a week for 3 months before I left. For 3 months. And when I first talked to that counselor, she said, what is your objective? And I said, I want to get so strong that when I am finally ready to leave, I can walk out that door with my things and my children with my head held high. And 3 months later, that day came and I knew it was that day. And I was able to walk out and I have a 3-bedroom apartment and I'm still the CEO of my company and I'm still working on my mental health and I'm still mothering these children and I'm making sure that I break the generational curses and all of that, right? And all of those cycles. And I didn't jump into another relationship right away, even though all of my fibers are screaming to do that, right? And it has been a year and I'm just starting to date. I'm just starting to see people, right? And so that alone should show you that it's not, and there's no time limit on it.
No time
and
limit.
It's not come to me for X amount of weeks and this is going to be your result. It's not that. Mm-hmm. It's what you put in, what you decide you want in life, it's obtainable for you and nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. And for me, you know, as long as I have God in my life, he makes everything possible for me, because where I am weak, he is strong. And he is the reason why I am so strong. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that it wasn't like if you find yourself in these situations, it's like you just wake up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go. No, there's a process to everything. And it took me 3 whole months to get to even to this point right here. Yeah. And so like picking up the phone right now, you're jump starting, because even if you don't get, you know, if you need medication, you don't even know if you need medication, but you're making the phone call to start the process. We overcomplicate things and we overthink things. Yep. So just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, and don't put a time limit on it, and just do it, and just show up and do the work. And you're worth it. You are worth it. And everything that anyone has ever said about you that was negative, we cancel out. You are so worth this work, this journey, and that person that you want to be. And I told one of my clients yesterday, I said, make decisions today that support the person that you're trying to be tomorrow.
Come on.
And so if you see yourself healthy, beautiful, handsome, whatever person, and you see yourself as that person, make the decision today, make the decision tomorrow morning, and pick up the phone and make that phone call.
Come on. Come on. That's good stuff, y'all. Listen, I'm not going to even try to come behind that. It's true. You are worth it. Make the decision for yourself today. What we are talking about in general, and I say this to clients all the time, choose you. Make a decision for you. Make a decision for you. I can't choose it for you. I remember at one point when I was going through what I was going through, there's certain things that my pastor would say to me. And one of the things that she said to me that was so pivotal, she was just, I was calling her day and night, y'all. I was like, Pastor, they said this. Pastor, I feel this, or whatever, like a hot mess. And one of the things she told me was, this is the part of the journey I cannot do for you. I can sit there and I listen. I can sit there and try to give you what the scriptures say. I can give you the encouragement, but you choosing you making a decision for you getting started on your journey towards healing, that's the part I can't do for you. I can't walk it out for you. Nope. And so even as we're doing this series and all of that, here's the disclaimer. This is not meant to be therapy. It is not meant to replace therapy. It is not meant to be any type of therapeutic advice for you. It is for you to hear, take insight from, and then for you to make a decision for yourself and figure out, what am I going to do to jumpstart that journey? You can watch a million videos. There are a million people out there talking about mental health stuff. Mental health in a lot of terms has become a trend now. Talk about that in a later date at another video, but everybody is talking about it. And you can go and you can glean all of this information or whatever. But if you don't choose you, if you don't make a decision for you today, all of it is just going to be information and knowledge that you crammed in your head and you never did anything with. It's like in school. There's a million things I can't tell you anything that I learned from like elementary school, middle school, high school, even undergrad. Like if I'm honest or whatever the case is, I praise God for, you know, my grad, because I remember that, thank God, you know. But there's so much stuff that we just cram into our minds and we never take action on it. I just want to encourage you to take action on it. Jumpstart your journey. Jumpstart your journey, because you're worth it. Listen, that's it. Me and Emily could literally probably be on here for 3 more hours. There are 1,000,001 questions that I wanted to ask. There are 1,000,001 questions I could go through, but we can't cram it into the live. And so I do want to give the chance and the opportunity for Emily to be able to share with us how you can get in touch with her, because like I said, there are different ways to get help that you need. And one of the things that she does as a peer recovery specialist, and she coaches people, right? And she coaches people in that realm. And so listen, remember, we all got vices, we all got addictions. And even if we're not talking about drugs, the process is still the same. So I want her to be able to have the chance and the opportunity for y'all to hear how to get in touch with her in case you are seeking that level of that type of service. So Emily, tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
I'm actually putting my website in the chat. I'm hoping you guys can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
lpcoachingservices.com. My company is called Living Proof Coaching Services, and we are an addiction recovery coaching company global. So it doesn't matter where you're at. We're virtual, and we can see you, males, females, family members. We support the whole entire family, because when you decide to go into recovery, everyone around you also needs to make that conscious decision to support you and to get some coping skills of their own to deal with you while you're on your journey. You can also call me at 1-609-310-1522. You can email me at emily@lpcoachingservices.com. And that's it. And I really look forward to hearing from you if you need any support. We have 30-minute free consultations virtually. So if you think that you may need coaching, but you're not really sure, that's a great opportunity for me to put you in my schedule for 30 minutes and have a conversation with you and see if we're a good match.
Good stuff. Love it. Listen, take advantage of it. You can't go wrong with a 30-minute free consultation. Like you can't go wrong with that. You know, if you are wondering, if you are struggling, if maybe I'm not sure about that therapy thing yet, but I could use some coaching just to kind of clear my mind to get right on some of these vices and things that I'm dealing with. There's nobody better that I would recommend to walk you through that journey than Emily. So make sure you take advantage of that. Listen, y'all, that is all that we have for tonight. I'm so excited. I'm full. Just seeing where Emily is. I'm full knowing that there's somebody that was watching that perhaps you didn't comment, but I know that you're watching and I know that you're going to be blessed by this. I'm excited because, you know, I say all the time, being a therapist is one of those, sometimes it's a thankless job. I don't always get to see the flourishing of my clients. I don't always get to see, you know, the inner parts of their life, because at some point the relationship cuts and that's it, right? There is no continuation of the relationship. But I am so full up knowing that even though I may not see your journey, if you're watching today, I'm so full up knowing that a seed was planted tonight and that you are going to jumpstart your journey. And because of this conversation, that you are never going to be the same. Your 2022, your October 20th, 2022 self is going to look different than your October 20th, 2021 self. So I'm so excited. Listen, make sure, if y'all have not done so, make sure you go ahead and like the Oasis Wellness Group page on Facebook. You like it on Instagram. Get on the email list at bit.ly/Oasis email, all caps, because we're just going to continue this and it's just going to be so good. Next week is another conversation I'm super excited for. My brother from another mother. You ever have those people in your life that you're just, I don't even know how to explain it, just connected to in a different way? Mr. Deshaun Hayes is that for me. We went to high school together. We wasn't that close in high school. We wound up going to the same college and we developed this bond, like this just unbreakable bond. And he's gone on to do great things. He now has his master's in organizational psychology. He's a speaker and different things. And we're going to talk about emotional intelligence next week. See, here's the thing. Most people don't even talk about emotional intelligence. We all heard about our IQ, but did you know that you have an EI? We have an IQ score, but you also have an emotional intelligence score. And that emotional intelligence score will tell you a lot about yourself and where you are on the journey. So make sure that you are here next week. Listen, anything can happen between me and Deshaun. That's the type of friend, like seriously, every time we talk, we're on the phone for no less than 2 hours. And sometimes it's like 4 or 5 hours, because mental health, we're just connected on mental health or whatever. So make sure you tune in, same back place, same back time next week. Next Wednesday, 7:15, and we're going to be talking about increasing your emotional intelligence by jumpstarting your journey. So I hope that you guys had an amazing time tonight. Please make sure you go ahead and share the stream, and we will see you back next week. Emily, thank you again.
Thank you.
You guys have a wonderful night. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.